again, girls and boys, and welcome to another edition of ROX Talks, only on ROX Network. We've got a new old band for you today called Incursion. They were around in the 80s and they kind of stalled, but they're back with a new EP called The Hunter. And we're here to talk to the band today to hear about their new EP and how the recording went and what their plans are for the future. Here goes. That's lovely. Thank
Where
you
in
so
London
much.
are you?
Yeah, we're recording. I'll record the audio as well as belt and braces sort of thing. Not that I don't trust technology, but I don't trust technology.
As you shouldn't.
Right, do you want to get underway, fellas?
Sure, let's do it.
Okay, let's go for it. Well, first of all, tell us about Incursion. Tell us about yourselves.
We are a traditional heavy metal band that we had our first stint from 82 to 86. We were a four-piece, but we never really got off the ground. We were mostly in South Florida, played in Miami and West Palm Beach and Hollywood, Florida. And we came to a crossroads with our singer. And when we decided to part ways, we just had trouble finding a new singer. And that sort of created the dissolve of the band. But the other three guys, me, Michael, and the drummer, Buddy Norris, we kept in touch in various ways over the years. And a few years back, we all happened to be in the same city, and we decided to jam. And the jam turned into, hey, these songs still have some meaning. So we felt that we should give it a go.
Some things are meant to be.
Well, it had been 35 years, essentially, since we had played together in 1986, or 34 years. And we got together, and it was sort of a cathartic experience. Like 35 years went away for a few moments during that first time we got together. It was like being 18 again. And so we're like, okay, maybe I think it all really started as a project for ourselves. We never got the chance to take these songs into the studio and properly, you realize them in that type of medium versus just playing them and really think about the songs. And I think we tried to approach them. What would we have done back then had we gone in the studio and stayed true to the material that George and I wrote? And it started out as a project, as I said, sort of, let's do this for ourselves. And then we were really happy with how it came out. It was kind of, and George can talk more about this, everything just sort of fell into place in a really neat way. And that how we hooked up with, Philip Laver doing the artwork and every aspect of it, really, how George said, well, I have a friend, Steve, that I think would be perfect. And he sent me Steve did a verse and a chorus, I think, on a few of the tunes and just a sample kind of vocal. And George sent it to me, and I was like, that's the guy we were looking for in 1986 we couldn't find. Everything just fell into place. It was sort of, I don't know if it's serendipity or what, but it just kind of happened. And it's just been a really neat experience in a lot of ways to go back and revisit something that meant so much to us. I mean, it was everything to us then, right?
So are all the songs on the EP from back then, or are there some songs that you started to write now?
No, all the songs were written back then, and we there really isn't that much. I mean, we could play you the original versions of them, and you'd be like, "Oh yeah, this is the same song." This is the same.
We really stayed true to them, and George was certainly prolific with his writing. So I mean, Max. So we had you know, we have a lot. We have a wealth of material still to explore. You know.
So another EP could be on its way.
No, we're going to do a full length.
Great.
Once this COVID stuff dies down. I mean, in America, it's pretty aggressive. So we are getting everybody to relearn the songs and, you know, show them to Stone and Steve. And we have an album that we're planning to record. We originally planned December, but with the spikes that are happening, we may push it back to January or February to actually get in the studio and record. But we most certainly have more material, and we're going to, you know, it's 90% of it will be as it was, and there's going to be a couple of things that we've sort of fixed, for lack of a better word, better phrase.
Improved.
Well,
Yeah.
I think, I mean, you have a 35-year window between them, and the life experiences and the different things we've done musically, and all of us. But we're trying to really stay true to them. But then you also have, as I mentioned, that we never properly visited these songs. We never looked at them through the eye, the lens of making a proper recording of them, and that, you know, that changes. You're listening to them more critically, and there's aspects of the songs. We're trying to really stay true to what we would have maybe done then, but you can't. I mean, it's hard to, you know, there's 35 years there. And I think a big part of our sound is, I mean, Buddy Norris, the original drummer, he's like a time warp in a lot of ways, time capsule, because he still has the same air and space in his drumming that he had back then. And, you know, it really helps. It makes everything else just fit into the right pocket, you know?
Well, yeah, I mean, the way you mix the EP, it is that classic metal sound. I mean, so much these days is everything on the desk is on full, and it's oversaturated, and you can't pick out one thing from another. Space is so important.
Right, well,
I think we didn't consciously try to make it sound like it would have sounded back then. It's just that's how we sound. And I mean, getting Jorg Eucken to mix and master it. He knew everything just happened the right way. It wasn't necessarily an intentional thing on our part. You know, it's kind of who we are and what we sound like. And I think Jorg was true to that with what he did. Wouldn't you say, George?
Yeah. Yeah. We definitely got people that were aligned with what we were thinking. So it made the world, it made all the stars align just that much better, because the songs are the songs, and we weren't going to, I don't really, like, as much as I like some of these newer bands, I wasn't going to try and modify it to fit it. Like, we wanted to fit we wanted to be true to the music and not true to, like, wherever the world was at the time. You know, so I think that's the key. It's like, we all write the way we write, and our approach is going to be based on we're big fans of, you know, Raven and Venom and you know, Anvil, and so that's the records that we were trying to sound like early Twisted Sister, early Metallica, you know, like very much Iron Maiden and Rush and Kiss and Ted Nugent, and that's kind of what we think great sounding records sound like.
Absolutely. You
know, so that's kind of where we're coming from when we're making what, you know, hopefully we can find people who appreciate it.
I'm sure you will. I mean, it is perfect timing because there's such a revival at the moment and an interest in traditional metal.
Yes.
Things have run its course, and we've had this and we've had that, but there's so much interest now in just straight ahead, no messing, heavy metal.
Yeah, we're a no fuss, no muss kind of band.
And why not?
Yeah, we want to keep it that way. We want, you know, I mean, like we definitely have the scope of the scope of the album. It's going to be a little bit broader than what's happening on the EP, as it's sort of a concept record. So we tried to sort of bookend it in a way so it's one kind of consistent theme through it. But with the album, I think it's going to give us a lot of opportunities to do sort of more varied kind of things. We'll have some
absolutely. Yeah,
some slower,
some faster tunes and certainly different themes. And I mean, a lot of when George says, you know, we were like, if you were a kid in the 70s, you were floored by Kiss and UFO and Scorpions and all that stuff that was happening, and Priest. But then we were also into the hardcore stuff that was happening in the late 70s, early 80s. You know, Dead Kennedys and, you know, Black Flag and all that stuff, and Jodie Foster's Army. And then, you know, then Maiden came out, and it sort of, with Paul Di'Anno, to me, it encapsulated, it kind of took that energy of the hardcore and then the musicality of the, you know, your UFOs or your, you know, a lot of the English hard rock and metal that was going on. And it was like, that changed everything, I think, for Max and I, for what we were listening to. So, but some of the songs on the next record that we were planning have that more of a kind of a hardcore, faster kind of feel to them.
Great.
Versus the EP. And the EP was definitely a themed thing. So we tried to stay true to that, to the story and the set of sort of anthemic kind of thing that's going on with the Hunter.
How do you feel coming back into the music industry now? How do you feel it's changed?
Well, we had a little bit, like, I think the time is we had a little less barrier to entry, and I know that sort of can be a gift and a curse. And we, you know, when we made the record, we spent good part of like 6 months trying to get a deal before making the decision to sort of put the record out digitally before and then sort of going back, you know, doing the reverse of it. And so I mean, everything was done like the spring of the summer of 2019, but it didn't come out until May of this year. So we really thought that, like, oh, there might be a world, and, you know, we reached out to like the Shadow Kingdoms of the world and the Dying, you know, Gates of Hell, and you know, and we would get some, you know, there were some people who just flat out passed, some people who were like, oh yeah, but the EP format is an issue. But, you know, there were people like the guys at Skull Records that were very interested on the front end and underground metal in Germany. Both of those labels reached out, but and we thought we were going to have be able to work something out, and then the guys at No Remorse pretty much said what everybody else said. Hey, an EP is going to be a hard thing, but then Chris at No Remorse emailed us back a couple of weeks later and said, you know, the more I listen to this thing, the more I think you guys got something. So if we could commit to doing an album with us, I think we can put the EP out and this will set up the album. So that was really the linchpin of why we went with Chris and the guys at No Remorse, as opposed to like Mark Gabriel, who was very, 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 very supportive and insightful. Like, I think people forget that, like, just because like a label or somebody that wants to assist says no, that it's somehow a negative. But it sort of gave us the impetus to try and propel this further. And, you know, and then Anderson at New Wave of Traditional Heavy Metal, he was a huge help. And so we've had a lot of hands help push this thing forward. And, you know, so we've been really grateful for those people who've, you know, got us to, you know, now we're talking with you.
At the end of the day, people know good music, and it's that you know generates the momentum, and then before you know it, you are recording again.
Yeah,
and especially at the moment, because I say there's so much interest in metal again. I mean, all this bullshit you hear about rock's dead, metal's dead. No, it's very much alive and well. And I can see you guys being very much alive and well in the metal world to come as well. And I think an EP to start with is a great idea. It should toe back in, gets an audience, then they'll be ready for an album. They'll want the album to hear how you expand onto a full length.
It was certainly a good way for us to wet our feet again and get used to, you know, because we had to sort of react. I mean, as a lot of it came back naturally, there's still, you know, it allowed us to really, when we brought in a new bass player and with a new singer, and it kind of was a good learning, I think, experience for all of us. And I think we're ready to go in. We have a different mindset going in now, and a clearer head mindset going in to do a record. I mean, as we all mentioned, none of us were expecting COVID, and
no,
it's sort of changed the landscape of everything. And, you know, so we're thankful for certainly like Anderson and all the online stuff is, I mean, it's still, there's momentum still happening in the world of music. It's just, the model has shifted a little bit, right? We would love to be doing some shows. I mean, we're really excited to do that. I mean, more recording is one thing, but playing live together, we haven't been able to do that, and that was in the plans. I think we were probably, Max, I know we were probably more excited for that, you know, in a lot of ways, or as excited as recording to actually play live together. And we can't wait for that to happen.
Well, that was going to be my next question.
Yeah. No, we're ready. It's just we're waiting on the world.
Oh, great. Yeah. I mean, I think we will come into our own when you get to see us live, because I think we've got a lot of, you know, there's just, I think we can be more effective live than in the studio, you know. Yeah. And we're really looking forward to it. And, you know, we've been talking to bands, being like, hey, when this thing's over.
Well, the songs will evolve as well. Once you start playing them live, they have a chance to breathe, and you'll work on them, won't you? And
well, and that's the space the only space they lived in the past. So, you know, we know that realm for this music, for our music, more than the recording. You know, the recording is an interesting idiom in that you approach things totally different. It's a whole different thing. So for me, just to have that energy and that feeling of an audience and us on together experiencing that, I can't wait for that.
And we certainly can't wait to hear you live as well. I mean, look, unfortunately, we're in the UK, so I mean, I don't know whether you'll ever get a chance to come over here, but if you do, you will be more than welcome.
I think we're going to be focused. We're going to focus trying to get over to Europe and try to. I mean, everyone's got the aspiration. So
you are sort of the motherland for everything we love about metal, to be honest, right? So
yeah,
Rock started here.
Yeah, I could play. Yeah, if I could play in London, that would be great, or Birmingham, or Manchester.
Sort of like in the 60s and 70s, everyone was emulating, you guys were emulating American artists. And then and you mentioned patterns and shifts and things. In the 80s, we were like emulating what was happening, in the UK, really.
All the time. We was idolizing the likes of Van Halen and everybody else that was coming out from the States. We were going, why can't we do that?
Yeah, so certainly a mutual thing,
Yeah,
so, in a lot of ways.
I think Iron Maiden answered that question.
Well, guys, thank you so much for your time. It's been brilliant, and we do wish you all well. The new EP is called The Hunter on No Remorse Records, and it's on digital format, CD, and good old-fashioned vinyl.
Right.
Thanks a lot, guys. We'll speak to you real soon.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.